trumpet in Zion, Zion. Sound the alarm on the holy mountain. Blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion. Sound the alarm.
They rush up the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word. They rush on the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word. The Lord utters his voice before his army.
Good morning and welcome to the Confronting Apostasy program. I'm your host, Brian DeLore, and I thank you all for tuning into the program this morning. And on today's program, I'm going to be presenting part one of the message entitled Endtime Lawlessness. This is what is now happening. This is concerning what is now happening in our world today. What you see happening with all the riots, the terrorist attacks, the increase in murders, and all of the above, and a lot more than that, is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. And the text I'm going to use for today's program, the scripture text, comes from 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, where Paul writes, "In the last days perilous times shall come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power." And then he warns Timothy to have nothing to do with them. There's also a lawlessness Jesus spoke of in Matthew chapter 24, verse 12, where he says, "Due to the increase in wickedness or lawlessness, the love of many shall wax cold." And then there's one more verse of scripture I want to use in Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7, where Paul talks about the mystery of iniquity or lawlessness does already work. So we are definitely in a very trying time here at the end of the age. These things that I've mentioned from 2 Timothy chapter 3 are all serve as signs that we are in the end times. Now, something else I want to mention is that there's a parallel going on in the spirit world. While we have all of these things happening in the natural world, there's also things happening in the spiritual world, and they are affecting the church, and we have a lawlessness in the church. Men will no longer accept sound doctrine. So this is something that I want to talk about tomorrow night. Today I'm talking more about what's happening in the natural realm, and then we'll deal with what's going on in the spirit realm on tomorrow night's program. I want to go back to this verse of scripture in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, and I want to kind of break it down. First of all, Paul says in the beginning of this chapter, in the last days, perilous times shall come. So we know that the perilous times, the perils we're now seeing, are a sign of the end times, or a sign rather that we are in the end times. And so he says they shall come. This was prophesied to happen thousands of years ago, and it's now taking place right before our very eyes. So what you're witnessing, all of this is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, before our very eyes. And so the signs are this, that people will be lovers of themselves. That's the first sign, and we see this everywhere. Nobody cares about anyone else anymore. They're not concerned with the trials or the tribulations that others go through. They're only concerned about themselves. We see this everywhere. Lovers of money. Well, what do we see today? We have casinos, lotteries all over the United States. I so happen to have a brother-in-law who worked in the casino business for 48, 49 years. He just retired a few months ago. When he first got into the business, most of the casinos were located in either Las Vegas or Reno, Nevada. And since he's gotten into the business, they've just spread out throughout the United States. There's a casino in almost every state. Not every state, but, like, for example, Texas doesn't have a casino, does have dog racing, but it doesn't have a casino. But there are casinos in Louisiana, Arkansas, all very close to Texas. And I mean, these things are spread throughout the United States, and unfortunately, many people are deceived by the legalized gambling, and they go to these places, they lose a lot of money, and in some cases, it's happened that people have lost everything and then went ahead and killed themselves because they lost it all. All of their hopes and dreams went up in smoke. They were trusting in the flesh. They could care less about God. They thought that they could win, and you don't realize that in these casinos, the odds are stacked against you. They don't build the casinos on the backs of the winners. They build them on the backs of the losers. And the same thing goes with the lottery. So many lotteries exist today. I remember when the lottery first came out here in Florida, which was in 1988, you just had that lottery. And now there's so many other games that they've added to it over the last, 29 years that it's really unbelievable. And again, millions of people lose their money on these lotteries, and very few win. And it's a really terrible thing that we're witnessing because so many people get addicted to this gambling, and it destroys families. It just destroys lives. It's horrible. And then that's not to mention the crime that accompanies all of these things, particularly the casinos. I myself personally have witnessed. When I used to be a driver, I used to take people to casinos, and I've actually witnessed the prostitution taking place right in front of the casino, and nobody batted an eye. So, when they tell you that when these casinos come to town, that a lot of crime begins to occur in those areas, they're not lying. It's happening. I've seen it, witnessed it myself. Okay, so lovers of money, we've covered that. Boastful and proud and abusive. Well, we see a lot of people boasting today, boasting of their riches, boasting of this, boasting of that. Proud. A lot of people are proud and arrogant. They're conceited. They think more highly of themselves than they ought to think. Abusive. We see a lot of abuse going on within families these days. There's a lot of domestic violence that takes place, and unfortunately, oftentimes children are hurt or killed in these situations. The husband and wife, they have a fight, and the husband has to leave or whatever happens, and then he doesn't like that, and he returns and he kills the wife and the kids, and then himself usually. And these are just terrible things that happen, but abuse is one of the signs of the end times. Disobedient to parents. We see children today are not like they used to be. When I was a kid, there seemed to be an automatic respect for authority. And parents, teachers, and so forth all represent authority. And nowadays, kids just rebel against that. And there's so much division in these homes. I mean, even in Christian homes, believe it or not, there's a lot of things taking place that should not be happening, but they are. So again, another sign of the times, Bible prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes. Ungrateful. Well, I think anybody can see that. I mean, I notice that when it rains, people hate it when it rains. They hate it when it doesn't rain. They never thank God for the rain. I think people should be very thankful that we get the amounts of rain that we do. Without it, the crops don't grow. We have all kinds of water shortages and all kinds of problems. So we should be grateful for the rain and grateful for the good things we have. A lot of people just take life for granted, and if something doesn't go their way, they're down and out and down the dumps. Well, I'm grateful for everything I have. I believe that everything that I have that's good comes from God, and I'm thankful to Him for everything that I have. We have another situation, unholiness. It says in the book of Hebrews, to follow holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. And I mean, I'm talking about, this was written to Christians, and the Christians today are a very unholy group of people. I mean, I have witnessed this firsthand, and that's mainly because they've been taught the damnable doctrine of eternal security, and they think that they're going to go to heaven no matter what they do, and they're very, very sadly mistaken, and they're in for a rude awakening, which will probably come sooner rather than later. All right, without love, again, nobody cares about anybody else. They just don't care. Unforgiving. There was a situation talking about casinos, which happened here back on Christmas Day at a casino in Miami, where a young man was shot and killed. He had been inside the casino playing poker, and he got into it with these couple of black guys, and they sent this young man out, and they kicked him out because he was insulting these black guys. And for one reason or the other, the black guys actually happened to go close to the area where this guy was getting into his car. When he saw them, he started fighting with them and threatening them. And then I've seen the video of this, and all of a sudden he jumps out of his car and charges towards their car, and they start shooting because he had already threatened to shoot and kill them. And they shot him twice, once in the leg, once in the wrist. You wouldn't think that would be so devastating, but it was. He bled to death, and he died in surgery on Christmas Day, no less. And had he just let that go and went about his way, he would still be alive today. So you see how things can turn out different than what you expect sometimes. And so on Christmas Day, no less. So that's a result of unforgiveness. Slanderous. Well, we see a lot of things happening today. There's been so much slander, particularly about our president in the press. So they're slanderous. Without self-control. I mentioned these riots that have been taking place, the Black Lives Matter riots, the people who have attacked the Trump supporters. They have no control. And again, also terrorist attacks would fall into this category. They hate us, and they have no control, and they just what happened 2 days or 3 days ago over in London. They attack, and fortunately, the perpetrator of the attack was killed. And of course, it also says here brutal. You can include brutality under that with the terrorist attacks, and without self-control. Not lovers of the good. Most people are not into goodness; they're into iniquity and sin. Treacherous. That simply means people who are dangerous, I think would be a better word. Rash, people make decisions, like I just spoke about that young man. Had he been thinking about what he was doing, you don't know who has a gun. People have a right to carry guns, and they have a right to defend themselves. And he just made this decision to charge these young men in their car, and they were frightened of him. He was blocking their car, preventing them from leaving, and so they had no choice because they felt that their lives were in danger, so they shot him. Conceited. Again, the young man was conceited, just like many others are conceited. They think more highly of themselves than they ought to think. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Again, that would fall under the same thing with this young man. You know, you're going to casinos, gambling, sinning, drinking, and whatever else you're doing. You don't love God. You love your sin and your pleasure. And you have pleasure in sin for a season, but for a season only. And then that season will come to an end, I assure you. And then having a form of godliness, but denying its power. There's a lot of people who claim to know God, but as Titus says, in Titus chapter 1, verse 6, they claim to know God, but in works they deny him. And that's what this is talking about here. And then Paul ends this with the warning to Timothy, have nothing to do with them. So you shouldn't have anything to do with people like this. You shouldn't have anything to do with them. And so I'm going to go ahead and close this program right here. The website for the program is confrontingapostasy.com. You can go to that website right now. There's a lot of materials uploaded there you can avail yourselves of. There's also our Facebook page, Confronting Apostasy, and I would appreciate it if you'd leave a comment there and like the page. And that's going to do it for today. And until the next time, which will be part 2 of End Time Rebellion, that should be tomorrow, I leave you with this reminder to keep the faith and to defend the truth. Have a good night, everybody.
The trumpet in Zion, Zion, sound the alarm on the holy mountain. Blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion, sound the alarm.
They rush on the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word. They rush on the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word. The Lord